All these insurance reforms, health care for Donna's son, pre-existing condition, preventive care for seniors, where by getting care in time it's going to save us money. That's the wrong thing to do. When does it make sense to toss out the good rather than correct the bad? I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, I yield myself 15 seconds. I appreciate what the gentleman from Vermont just said, and I want to assure him that as we look at the replace piece of this, that element to make sure that children under the age of 26 will be in fact covered. And we made that point in the Rules Committee 2 weeks ago, and we'll be doing that again in the days to come. At this point, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Kinzinger.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, for the last 10 months, I've traveled around my district, and I've heard from people through the campaign and then now as a member. I heard from people that we need to repeal this health care bill. The folks back home get it. They understand that this is a budget-busting bill that's going to add mountains of debt on our children, and it's job-killing to the tune of hundreds of thousands of jobs a year. Recently, 200 economists came out and recognized that this is a, quote, major barrier to job growth and creates massive spending increases and a crushing debt burden. The path to affordable health care starts with being able to buy insurance across state lines, providing reduced premiums, and also we have to have lawsuit abuse reform. That is a key element to getting health care costs down. Ultimately, we have to have reforms, though, that will protect the doctor-patient relationship that's so sacred in America and in medicine. So today we begin working to carry out the voice of the people by implementing health care solutions that will reduce costs, increase accessibility, and protect American jobs. Today we begin advocating for the next generations of Americans, not advocating for the next election in America. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, I yield myself 15 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, I'd just like to point out again, we've said it over and over again, the CBO, which is the official estimate, says that over the next 10 years, the health care reform saves $230 billion. And after that, for 10 years, over $1 trillion. The Republicans can't get away from the fact that if they repeal this bill, all that's going to do is increase the deficit significantly, because our bill, the current law, actually reduces the deficit.
Gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, I would yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Morgan Griffin.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, I believe the minimum essential coverage provision penalty is unconstitutional. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. This time last year, as a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, defending that Constitution, I was proud to cast my vote for House Bill 10, which mandated no Virginians shall be required to buy health insurance. Our Attorney General has joined the fray and filed suit in court and is winning. As Virginians, we did not accept the chains of George III, nor will we accept the chains of Obamacare. I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, I would reserve at this point.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, I would yield at this point 1 minute to the gentleman from the great state of Michigan, Dr. Benechek.
Gentleman from the great state of Michigan is recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Madam Speaker, before coming to this House, I've actually been taking care of patients for the last 30 years. And as a surgeon, I work with patients to provide care and earn their trust. The doctor-patient relationship is the very foundation of the practice of medicine. Unfortunately, the health care law passed in the last Congress does not build the doctor-patient relationship. It undermines it. Full of hidden costs and red tape, the law overregulates and limits patient choices. We need to repeal this bill, start over, and craft health care legislation that actually puts patients first, puts them in charge of their care. Repealing this bill is not the end of health care reform. This gives us a second chance to tackle the problems of our system while focusing on what makes our system great. I yield the remainder of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Wiener.
Gentleman from New York is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the ranking member of the Health Subcommittee and my colleagues. You know, we're at about the halfway mark of this debate today, so I think it's time for us to kind of take a little review and also offer people listening at home kind of a viewer's guide of what they've heard and what they're likely to hear coming forward. There have been basically three formations of the argument by the Republicans. First, they start by making stuff up. You kind of have to wonder if any of them actually read the bill. 130,000 new agencies, not true. New IRS agents, not true. Death panels, not true. Members aren't covered, not true. No tort reform in it, not true. You know, I want to just advise people watching at home playing that now popular drinking game of you take a shot whenever the Republicans say something that's not true. Please assign a designated driver. This is going to be a long afternoon. Then there are my colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle that are basically pursuing the we don't really mean it strategy. My good friend, the new chairman, Mr. Upton, started his remarks with this long litany of things that they're going to do in the new bill. They're going to have coverage for pre-existing conditions. They're going to have help for the donut hole. They're going to have making sure there are incentives for small businesses to offer insurance. You know what they call that, my colleagues? They call that the bill they're repealing. It sounds very strange, but they want to repeal the bill, but they still want to give it a big hug and an embrace as if they support the things. And then, of course, there's the old fallback, and this is a particularly powerful one for my newer members who are just joining us. It's kind of the boogeyman strategy. You know, you pull those canards out of the sky. It's socialized medicine. Socialized medicine? Giving people incentives to go to private insurance companies? How's that socialized medicine? And that's the case, you all have socialized medicine. Now, it's worth noting that this is the same Republican Party who last year in their budget alternative and this year in their campaign manifesto said, we want to end the Medicare program as we know it. I mean, they don't talk about it much, but that's their philosophy, and we have a fundamental disagreement about it. They say there's going to be a government takeover of health care. Really? Who's taking over what health care plan? Who? We're offering people tax incentives, small businesses tax incentives to go buy private insurance plans. You know, this was a proposal first made by Republicans. That was adopted. We decided that that was the way to go. But stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. This is the sign of a philosophical division. You have one side that stands up for patients and for citizens and for businesses, and the other side, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the health insurance industry. But we've seen it. Whether they're making up things, whether they're creating boogeymen, or whether they're saying, oh, no, we don't really mean it, this is a harbinger. And I would say to Americans watching at home, think which side you're on. If you are in love with insurance companies and want them to succeed and you don't care about anything else, by all means, this is your team. These are your guys. But if you believe that we need to make sure that people get health insurance, that they're not passing along their bills to the taxpayers each and every single day, that you believe in programs like Social Security and Medicare, these are your guys. This is kind of your halftime wrap-up for the debate that we're having here today, and those are the two sides. Ladies and gentlemen, pick your side.
Time's expired, and members will address all of their remarks through the chair. Gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, I would yield 1 minute and a quarter to the gentleman from Texas, Dr. Burgess.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute and a quarter.
And I thank the chairman. Remarks to the Speaker. All right, Madam Speaker, who loves insurance companies? Was it the party that gave them an unconstitutional mandate that drove their stock prices through the roof last March 23rd? Maybe it was. We talk about new agencies and that the Republicans are misleading the American people on how many new agencies are created. Your own Congressional Research Service said the actual number of new agencies is in excess of 150, but the actual number is unknowable. They took a phrase from former Secretary Donald Rumsfeld in that regard. What about the new agencies? What about the Office of Consumer Information and Insurance Oversight? Where did that come from? Authorized in the bill? I think not. Appropriations in the bill? Your guess is as good as mine, but they're out there today hiring people and renting space. The Independent Payment Advisory Board, is that just a canard, or is that a real phenomenon that threatens the financial solvency of every hospital, public or private, in this country? Exchanges, good idea, bad idea? We can have that debate, but it is the subsidies within the exchanges that are intolerably high and paid for by taking the money out of our seniors' Medicare system. No, I will not. My time is quite limited, as you know. These are the problems These are the issues that should be debated. We're talking about modest changes on the margins. The real fundamentals of this bill are so deeply flawed, and the risk to the American public because of the expansion of the deficit is so real, it requires the repeal vote be taken today. I'll yield back.
Gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, I yield myself 15 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, again, Dr. Burgess talked about impact on hospitals. I want to point out that the health care reform law benefits hospitals by covering more Americans and thereby reducing the cost of providing care to the uninsured. Repeal would undo this benefit, increasing the cost of uncompensated care by $249 million annually for hospitals in his district.
Would the gentleman yield me 15
Time's
seconds?
expired.
I yield to the gentleman.
Time's expired.
And I want my colleagues to understand, to say that you're not going to give them insurance, who do you think then pays it for those uninsured? Who do you think then comes in and pays? It is your citizens in your towns, states, and cities. That's who pays for the uninsured, and all of us who wind up footing the bill. You talk about responsibility. What about the responsibility not to pass the bill along to everyone else?
Time's expired. Gentleman from Michigan.
Madam, may I inquire how much time is left?
Michigan has 5 minutes remaining.
And
New Jersey has 2.5 minutes remaining.
I would yield a minute to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Canseco.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the gentleman from Michigan. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of repealing the $2.6 trillion Washington takeover of health care. I spent the past year speaking with thousands of Texans in the 23rd District. The message I received was explicit and distinct. Repeal and replace the jobs-destroying health care law. We must reform health care in America. However, we must do so in a way that doesn't destroy jobs, but ensures the American people can get the health care that they need when they need it at a price they can afford, and doesn't put Washington bureaucrats in charge of America's health care. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New Jersey.
I would continue to reserve, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman reserves. Gentleman from Michigan.
I would yield a minute to the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Duncan.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The first time I stood on the floor to speak, I spoke to read the United States Constitution. Now I rise to defend this great document that I carry with me every day by advocating for the repeal of the unconstitutional health care bill, Obamacare. Let me convey the thoughts and feelings of the people from my home state, South Carolina. To the last Congress, I ask where in this document, the United States Constitution, or in the writings of our founding fathers, leads you to believe that we as free Americans should not be able to choose and pick our own doctors? What leads you to believe that the government takeover of health care is even constitutional? And why didn't you listen to the millions of Americans who yelled at the top of their lungs that we don't need or want the government to be in control of our health care decisions? I think it's time we return this House to the people, and we can start by repealing the job-killing, socialistic, and out-of-touch health care bill. I yield back the balance.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, I yield 30 seconds to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green.
Gentleman's recognized for 30 seconds.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to respond because if that Constitution means anything, it also shows that as members of the House and the Senate, the legislative branch, it's not our job to decide constitutionality. My opinion is just as much as important as yours. It's the 9 people over on the Supreme Court that the Constitution gives that authority to. And I think the health care law is constitutional because all those companies serve all of our states. It's across state lines. The Commerce Clause works that way. So hiding behind the Constitution, and we read it here on the floor, this bill will be constitutional because Social Security is constitutional, mandatory insurance in our states are constitutional. So, you know, we can have that argument. It doesn't do any good.
Gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, I would yield a minute to the gentleman from New Hampshire, Mr. Ginta.
Gentleman's recognized for 1 minute.
I thank the chairman from Michigan for yielding his time. Madam Speaker, I rise to add my voice to those calling for repeal of last year's misguided overhaul of our national health care system. Seldom has a well-intentioned desire, in this case, making the system work better, strayed so disastrously off course. The new law destroys existing jobs, inserts government between you and your family doctor, and allows Washington to yet still spend more money, more borrowed money. Even worse, it fails to accomplish its primary goal. Instead of making health insurance more affordable, premiums today remain sky high for individuals and employers. Now we have a two-part opportunity before this Congress. First, we must repeal last year's unconstitutional legislation. Then we need to begin the process of delivering what Americans are demanding, a patient-centered health care system that is effective, efficient, and simply reduces costs. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, I just yield myself 15 seconds if I could.
Gentleman's recognized.
You know, the gentleman from New Hampshire, if he votes for this repeal, he's eliminating new health care coverage options for 1,900 uninsured young adults, increasing the number of people without health insurance by 24,000 individuals, and increasing the cost to hospitals of providing uncompensated care by $35 million annually in his district.
Time's expired. Gentleman from Michigan.
I think, Madam Speaker, I think we're 2 minutes each, right? I think is what we're at. So, you, gentleman from
Michigan has 2 minutes. Gentleman from New Jersey, 1 minute and 3/4.
I'll go.
Gentleman from Michigan.
I'll go. Madam Speaker, I will yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Maryland, Dr. Harris.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Madam Speaker, as a physician delivering care and labor and delivery for 26 years, I know that the last thing we need is a new government bureaucrat looking over our shoulders when I'm in that delivery room administering an anesthetic to a mother for an emergency cesarean section to save her baby's life. But that's exactly what Obamacare will do if we don't repeal it. Instead of the last Congress making sure that the baby born that day has a real chance at the American dream by creating jobs and solving America's long-term fiscal crisis, they added over $2 trillion to our children's and grandchildren's debt with that job-destroying Obamacare bill. That's why we should repeal it today. Madam Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Madam Speaker, let me say we have, what, 1 minute each now?
Gentleman has 1 minute and 3/4 remaining.
I think we have 1 minute unless we got some extra
Gentleman
time.
has 1 minute. Gentleman from New Jersey.
Could I inquire how many more speakers you have?
We have 1 speaker remaining, my friend.
Madam Speaker, I yield myself the remainder of the time.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, in this debate, the truth should be told about the Republican repeal. In fact, the Republican bill should come up with a health warning that their measure is dangerous to America's health. For many people, the issue of having health coverage is a matter of life and death. And I would say there's so many benefits that we have pointed out during this debate that already exist for the average American, that to talk about repeal at this time and eliminate those benefits for those people that have pre-existing conditions that wouldn't be able to get coverage or would face caps, lifetime caps or rescissions, it simply needs to be told that the fact of the matter is that right now there's tremendous benefits that are coming to the average American from this legislation. And to repeal it at this point makes absolutely no sense. It's completely a waste of time. We have no indication that this repeal would ever go to the Senate or ever be considered by the President. And I just wish that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, instead of wasting their time talking about this repeal that is going nowhere, would instead focus on the economy, focus on jobs. When I talk to my constituents, that's what they want us to deal with. We just began this session of Congress about 2 weeks ago. The focus should be on the economy, on jobs, on trying to do what we can to improve the lives of the average American. We have tremendous benefits that exist under this health care legislation now. Why focus our attention in this first 2 or 3 weeks of the Congress on this repeal? It makes absolutely no sense. And I would ask my colleagues, after today, please Let's focus on jobs. Let's focus on what we can do to improve the economy. Let's not continue this debate on health care, because actually what my constituents want is they want this bill to unfold. They like the benefits that have already come forward, and a lot more benefits will accrue. Most Americans will ultimately be covered by health insurance, and that's the key. Let's focus on jobs and the economy and stop this ruse about health care repeal.
Gentleman's time's expired. The gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, to close our debate, I yield to the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Holgren. The balance of our time.
Is recognized for 1 minute.
I want to thank the chairman from Michigan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The so-called Affordable Care Act has clearly failed to make health care more affordable. Since the passage of this law, I have heard from local families throughout my community concerned about what this will mean to their pocketbooks, and from small business owners who are concerned about how they will keep their doors open. Making health care affordable requires that we address out-of-control costs, such as lawsuit abuse reform. This issue was completely and inexplicably ignored in this act. The act has also created paralyzing uncertainty and new layers of bureaucracy, putting new demands on businesses in the form of mandates and new taxes, forcing them to comply with yet-to-be-written regulations. It prevents them from hiring and stalls the economic recovery that we need so dearly. After this vote, I look forward to working with all of my colleagues to find ways of lowering the cost of health care, maintaining a patient-focused system, making health care more accessible to all Americans, and working with families and businesses to find quality insurance. This act failed to accomplish such common-sense goals. In fact, it made matters worse. Therefore, I will vote for its repeal, and I encourage all of my colleagues to join with me on both sides of the aisle and vote yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Time's expired. The gentleman from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield myself 4.5 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized.
The Democrats' health care law is fundamentally flawed, and we will, having listened to the will of the American people, vote to repeal it today. The problem with this law, among its many faults, is it puts government at the center of health care decisions, not doctors and patients. Instead of families deciding what coverage is best for them, this law has the Secretary of Health and Human Services making that choice. Instead of families and employers deciding how much they can afford, the IRS is making that decision. Instead of families and employers deciding if they need health insurance, the government is mandating they purchase it. This is all about the government. It's Washington knows best, and it's wrong. By virtually every measure, this law is a failure. The health care law fails to control costs. It fails to let Americans keep the insurance they have and like. It fails to protect jobs and, in fact, hurts job creation at a time when the unemployment rate has remained above 9% for 20 months. It fails to ensure seniors have access to their doctors and hospitals, and it fails to prevent tax increases from hitting middle-class families. Let's review the facts. The health care law makes health insurance more expensive for millions of Americans. Well, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, the Democrats' health law will increase premiums for millions of families by up to $2,100 on average by 2016. $2,100 more expensive than it would have been if Congress had done nothing. Almost $3,200 more expensive than the Republican alternative we offered last Congress. The Democrats' health care law forces millions of Americans out of the health care plan they have and like. The Obama administration has predicted that as many as 7 out of 10 employers will have to change the coverage they offer their employees because of the Democrats' health care law. The health care law discourages employers from hiring new workers, increasing wages, or retaining existing employees. There are over $500 billion in new job-destroying taxes, many of which hit middle-class families. With all these taxes and new regulations, it's no wonder that major employer groups, such as the National Federation of Independent Business, the National Association of Manufacturers, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Business Roundtable and Business Council, call the Democrats' health care law destructive and dangerous. The health care law jeopardizes seniors' health care. Again, according to the Obama administration's own actuaries at CMS, the massive Medicare cuts contained in the Democrats' health law could threaten seniors' access to care and cause providers to stop treating Medicare patients. Entitlement expansion is not health care reform, and giving new powers and regulations to departments like HHS and letting the IRS hire up to 16,000 new auditors, agents, and other employees is not the same as empowering doctors and patients, and it isn't the job creation America needs. The American people know that like a tree that's rotten at the center, we must cut it down and put something new in its place. That's what we're doing today, cutting the government out of the waiting room, out of the doctor's office, and out of your medicine cabinet. Once we've done that, we'll begin tomorrow to implement, step by step, common sense reforms that actually lower the cost of health care and actually respect the doctor-patient relationship. This House, this majority, Republicans have heard the American people loud and clear, and we will not let government dictate your health care coverage. We will repeal this law, and we will continue our effort until Americans are again free to choose their health insurance plan, to choose their doctor, and to choose what is best for them, their family, and their business. This is a Congress dedicated to empowering the American people, not increasing the size, scope, and cost of the federal government. I urge my colleagues to vote with me to repeal this job-destroying and cost-increasing health care law, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Mr. Levin from Michigan.
I yield myself 4 minutes.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, health care reform is an American family law. Repealing it would hurt families all across our nation. Repeal would mean rescission, taking away benefits from millions of Americans, giving power back to health insurance. Let's be clear. This law is working. Repealing it would have real-life consequences for millions of Americans. As many as 19 million kids in our country have health problems considered pre-existing conditions. In the past, it could have led insurance companies to drop their coverage. This new law changed that. One example, there are millions. One mother in my district, Felicia Tisdale, said she has been anxious about her daughter's health insurance since she was diagnosed with diabetes at age 3. Ms. Tisdale and others like her no longer have to worry about their children being denied coverage. More than 1 million young adults are already benefiting from the provision that allows them to stay on their parents' plan until they turn 26. Just one example. A constituent, Sean McCarthy, an auto worker, told me in a letter that his 2 children, aged 19 and 23, could not afford to stay in college, but he was grateful that the new law at least enabled them to get health insurance by joining his plan. And then seniors, millions, have seen their out-of-pocket drug costs go down under this new law. Nearly 3 million Medicare recipients have received a reimbursement check in the mail in the last year relating to the donut hole. One gentleman who I represent, Harry Wimble of Warren, Michigan, wrote to me thankfully that his wife received $250 that she otherwise would not have. He said his wife paid thousands of dollars out of pocket in 2010 because of the donut hole. Repeal would mean releasing insurance companies once again to impose unreasonable premium increases, to deny insurance to whomever they please, whenever they please, to set annual and lifetime benefit limits, to discriminate against women through higher rates and arbitrary definitions of pre-existing conditions. Repeal would mean retreat from moving America ahead. We will fight that retreat. It will not happen. I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves the balance of his time. Mr. Camp from Michigan.
I yield 3 minutes to a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from California, Mr. Herger.
Gentleman's recognized for 3 minutes.
I rise in strong support of this legislation to repeal Obamacare. Madam Speaker, Americans expect a new Congress to make job creation a priority and get our country back on the path of fiscal responsibility. Any serious plan to achieve these goals must begin with repeal of Obamacare. Madam Speaker, I represent 10 rural counties in Northern California with chronically high unemployment rates. Last year, I spoke with the owner of a restaurant chain based in Redding, California. He had originally planned to open 10 new locations this year, creating hundreds of new jobs, but because of the higher labor costs imposed by Obamacare, he has decided not to expand at all. At the other end of my district, in California's Cape Hay Valley, I've heard from a family-owned farm that delivers fresh produce to residents across the state. They are facing a staggering $1.7 million in costs from the new health care mandates. Add these to thousands of similar stories across the country, and it's clear that this law will have a devastating impact on workers and employers alike. That's why the National Federation of Independent Business, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce are urging Congress to vote yes on repeal. My friends on the other side claim that Obamacare will reduce the deficit, yet no one truly believes that a new trillion-dollar government entitlement is the solution to a deficit crisis caused by reckless spending. As 200 respected economists wrote just this week, the assertion that Obamacare is, quote, paid for is, quote, based on omitted costs, budgetary gimmicks, shifted premium from other entitlements, and unsustainable spending cuts and revenue increases, close quote. These economists conclude that Obamacare could actually increase the deficit by more than $500 billion the first decade and by nearly $1.5 trillion the following decade. Madam Speaker, Republicans are committed to advancing genuine reforms that reduce the cost of health care, but we must begin by doing away with this bad law that moves our health care system in the wrong direction. Vote yes on repeal.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Michigan.
I now yield 2 minutes to the very distinguished gentleman from New York, Mr. Rangel.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you so much. I wish when the dust settles and we have an opportunity to sit together with our Republican friends that we can come up with a reform called Truth in Advertising as we label these bills. What was a national bill has been signed into law, now is being referred as the Democrat Obamacare job-killing, a threat to your natural life bill. And, of course, this is misleading perhaps to a lot of new members because they should know, as the listeners to this debate should know, that this ain't repealing nothing. It's an obligation that some people feel that they made to their constituency who elected them, who thought perhaps that that's all you had to do was put in a bill. But in the 2 minutes, I can't get into this how to repeal a law, but it starts off with a vote in the House, then you have to get a vote in the Senate, and then you have to override a veto by the President of the United States. So if this is done for political reasons, I have always been able to find some good, no matter how this thing is misconstrued, in letting people who follow the debate know this is not going to take away the benefits that you received under the Affordable Care Health Act, that you will continue to receive these preliminary benefits now. And as the years go forward and you find that you are in need of service, or one of your dear ones, you would find that the bill that people were screaming had to be repealed, that we would have joined in, recognizing that this is the political theater part about it, but we will be forced to review the bill, improve it if we can, and at the same time be able to say that it's not a Democrat bill, but the Congress, in support of the President of the United States, saw fit, after all of these decades of not recognizing the right of our citizens to have health care, to come together and have a bipartisan effort to provide this care. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman's time's expired. Mr. Camp of Michigan.
At this time, I yield 2 minutes to a true American hero, a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Johnson.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of freedom and free enterprise. This is America, where the Constitution and freedom and free enterprise are the hallmarks of this great democracy. I think one of the most compelling reasons people went to the ballot box last fall and cast their vote was they felt angry that those in power were disregarding personal liberties and trampling the U.S. Constitution. As you know, under Obamacare, the federal government forces freedom-loving Americans to hand over their hard-earned money for a mandatory product, in this case, health insurance. That's just not how it should be done in a democracy. In a democracy, you have the freedom to choose if you want to buy something. In a democracy, you have the freedom to choose if you want to purchase health insurance. In a democracy, you have the freedom to choose just to say no. This vote is about freedom and free enterprise and what's best for the future of America. As a constitutional conservative, I say vote for freedom and repeal Obamacare. I'll close with some words from Patrick Henry. Quote, "The Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government, lest it come to dominate our lives and our interests." Let's stand up for freedom and repeal Obamacare. Yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Levin from Michigan.
I yield myself 10 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
Almost 50 million people have no health insurance. For most of them, there is no freedom to choose. There's no ability to obtain it. It's now my privilege to yield 2 minutes to a fighter for health care for many, many decades, Mr. Stark of California.
Gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and Madam Speaker, and I rise today in strong opposition to repealing health reform. Instead of focusing on job creation, my friends across the aisle want to refight the health reform debate and take away patient protections that are already helping people get the health care they need. It bears repeating. Health reform is already helping millions of people in America. These aren't just numbers, they're real people. In my community, I received a letter from a young woman named Stephanie Blazin from Castro Valley, California. And Stephanie recently graduated from college, married, moved to California where her husband was pursuing a graduate degree. She was lucky and quickly got a job. Then, within her first few weeks on the job, she found she was pregnant. This should have been an exciting time for a young couple to start a family. Instead, she learned that her pregnancy was a pre-existing condition, and she'd obtained no coverage for any medical needs surrounding it. She said to me, my first thought through our minds were tainted by how we were going to financially handle this pregnancy and a baby. Fortunately, because health reform is law, and she is under age 26, Stephanie was able to quickly change her health insurance to obtain coverage on her father's health insurance. She now has full coverage for her pregnancy. Under the Republican plan, Stephanie would be stuck with no care. That's the Republican plan. By repealing health reform, the GOP plan would provide no protections for people's health. No care if you lose your job, no care if you have a pre-existing condition, no care if you're a senior in the donut hole, no care if your insurer hikes your premiums and you can't afford it. The Affordable Care Act has finally enacted fair rules for insurance companies. The Republicans want to take those protections away and put the insurance industry back in charge. I urge my colleagues to vote no on the Republican no care bill.
Gentleman's time's expired. Mr. Camp of Michigan.
I yield 2 minutes to a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Brady.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. To those middle-class Americans listening to the debate today, let me speak to you. This is your life. This is your health. You deserve the right to make your decisions about your health care rather than being forced into some government-run plan that's centered around what Washington needs and not what you need. Thanks to the last Congress, this is your new health care plan. We had our staff spend 4 months, weekends and evenings, going through all 2,801 pages of that bill, and we just said, tell us how it works, and this is the answer. We couldn't even fit the whole bill on one page. This is 1/3 of all the new bureaucracies. At the bottom line, 159 new federal government agencies, commissions, and bureaucracies in between you and your doctor. Now, is this the health care reform you were hoping for? If Obamacare is so great for families, why are health care costs going up and going to go up even higher? If it's so great for small businesses, why are they here today in Washington pleading for us to stop it? And if it's so great for seniors, why have so many been forced out of their Medicare Advantage plan? They can't even see a local doctor anymore because so many local doctors can't see them. They can't afford to cover Medicare senior patients. Health care is too important to get wrong, and Obamacare got it wrong. The place to start, American families, our seniors, our businesses deserve better, and the right place to start is to start over. Repeal Obamacare, and let's come back with some common sense reforms America can embrace. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Levin from Michigan.
It's now my privilege to yield 2 minutes to another longtime fighter for health care for Americans, Mr. McDermott of Washington.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes. Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, a very famous Republican 100 years ago proposed that we have national health insurance in this country. And he also said this. His name was Teddy Roosevelt, by the way. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man or woman stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man or the woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, or who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place will never be among those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Now, I've been here for 23 years, and when the Republicans defeated the efforts of the Clintons in 93, 94, I have waited for 16 years for my cold and timid friends to make one proposal that will deal with the pre-existing existing condition question. You have 125 million Americans who cannot go out and get insurance, who cannot leave their job if they have insurance through their job because they have a pre-existing condition. And you have been silent for 16 years. Now you want to come up and throw this away. Why don't we just settle down and we can make some amendments to this bill? I think there's some things wrong with it. There's a lot of stuff I didn't get into it when it came through this House. I'm sure there's some things you'd like. But throwing it away is a political farce. You know it isn't going to work. You've admitted it isn't going to work. It's never going to pass.
Time's expired.
And so we go through. Let's get the vote out of the way.
Gentlemen,
Vote no.
time's expired. All members are advised to address their remarks through the chair. Gentleman from Michigan.
Thank you. I yield 2 minutes to a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from California.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At enormous cost and in the face of tremendous opposition across the country, the previous majority in Congress forced on the American people a great socialist experiment in government health care. No area of the American health care system was left untouched by Obamacare. In the name of reform, the Democrat majority expanded a broken government program, Medicaid. They cut funding from what is already the nation's largest unfunded liability, Medicare. And then, basking in their glory, they added a whole new entitlement program to our catastrophic national debt. The American people were never told the truth. They were promised health care choices but saw them taken away. They were promised they would save money but saw their health care get more expensive. The most in need were promised access to health care through Medicaid, a program that is not only bankrupting the federal government but the state governments as well. Madam Speaker, the clock was unfortunately turned back last year. Failed socialist policies reemerged from the dustbin of history, and it was a dark chapter for our nation. Instead of improving the lives of all Americans by fixing our broken health care system, starting with Medicare and Medicaid, the Democratic majority subjected the American people to class warfare, anti-capitalist hate speech, and vitriolic rhetoric. Bathed in the excesses of power, they passed a bill that, by their own admission, they hadn't read, and then lectured the American people, claiming that we have to pass the bill first so that we could find out what was in it. Madam Speaker, the American people have read the bill, and they've rejected it. Today, the House will repeal Obamacare, and we will ensure that this renaissance of socialism in America is the shortest living political era in our nation's history. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Levin of Michigan.
I yield myself 10 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized for 10 seconds.
I'm disappointed that this diatribe about socialism comes to the floor today. I yield now for unanimous consent to the gentleman from California and the gentleman from Arizona.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, I ask permission to submit my statement against the repeal of the health bill that is good for my district.
Without objection.
Go ahead.
Gentleman's recognized.
Madam Speaker, unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Gentleman's recognized.
And submit my statement in opposition of the repeal of the health care reform.
Without objection.
Madam Speaker, it's now my privilege to yield 2 minutes to another fighter for what matters to Americans, Mr. Lewis of Georgia.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank Mr. Levin for yielding. Madam Speaker, it is unbelievable that with so many people out of work and millions of people uninsured, that the first act of this new Congress is to take health care away from people who just got coverage. More people have insurance today because of the Affordable Care Act. More small business are offering health insurance to their workers. For the first time in the history of our nation, we are headed in the right direction. We are making health care a right and not a privilege. The repeal will force seniors to pay more for drugs. It will kick young people off of their parents' insurance. We will go back to a time when insurance companies were allowed to discriminate. And once again, it will allow insurance companies to put profits above patients' health. We must not turn back. We have come too far. We cannot go back. The American people are counting on us to do what is right, what is just, what is fair. We made a promise of health care to the American people. We must keep that promise. Vote no. Keep the promise of health care for all of our citizens.
Yields back. Mr. Camp of Michigan.
I yield 2 minutes to a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Ohio.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Speaker, I rise in favor of this bill to repeal the government health care law that was passed in 2009. This issue was front and center in my campaign, like I'm sure it was in many of the campaigns of the people in this body today. Most of my constituents in Central Ohio opposed the 2,000-page bill that became law and are just beginning to find out what's in it. Sure, they knew about some of the good things like dealing with pre-existing conditions, which most of us on this side of the aisle support doing something with as well. But they didn't know about the medicine cabinet tax, for instance. That's right. Flexible savings account changes. No more over-the-counter medicines for moms who are buying that infant Motrin for their babies. And next year, a cap of $2,500 for that flexible savings account. They didn't know about the health savings account withdrawal tax that will impact many Americans across our country. A majority of my constituents want a patient-centered approach, not a government-centered approach, an approach where doctors and nurses are at the center of the process, not government bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. In addition, Madam Speaker, a third of my seniors who are on Medicare disadvantage like the health care they have. Apparently, they won't be able to keep it under this provision of the law. So today we have an opportunity, and the debate is over whether we change what we have, repeal it, and replace it with something better, something that's patient-centered and patient-focused. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Levin of Michigan.
I now yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Massachusetts, a member of our committee, Mr. Neal.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman. During the course of the campaign, we heard that this was going to be repeal and replace. What we have in front of us is simply repeal because there's never been a credible alternative offered for replace. This legislation is modeled after a modest market-driven proposal offered by that left-winger Mitt Romney, that left-wing advocate Bob Dole, and yes, that champion of liberal causes Richard Nixon. This is an amalgamation of a series of proposals offered over many years. But what do we hear? The usual scare tactics. Obamacare. 16 years ago, Clinton care. Government takeover. Socialism. And the best one of all, death panels. People wonder why the language here is a lexicon that is chosen for the purpose of scaring the American people. Remember what this proposal does, or as President Bush said, you need health care, go to the emergency room. Recall what this proposal does. It removes 57 million people with pre-existing conditions from insurance. It eliminates provisions for 2.4 million young adults to maintain health care and their parents' coverage until they're 26. This bill would allow a return to discrimination toward women based on higher premiums if they've had breast cancer, or perhaps even if they've been a victim of domestic violence or had a child. This bill that's proposed by our friends on the other side, it would get rid of a lifetime cap on out-of-pocket expenses. And why is that important? I dare them to challenge the following statistic. Half the bankruptcies in America are health care related. People lose their job.
Time's expired.
They lose their home. They lose everything because they got sick. I hope we oppose this repeal measure, or at least
Time's
until
expired.
we hear a replace proposal.
Gentleman from Michigan.
Thank you. I yield 2 minutes to a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Kentucky.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Speaker, the Democrats' health care law has only been in place for 10 months, yet the problems and negative effects are already painfully clear and well documented. The American people stood against it when it was forced through Congress last year, and they took out their frustrations on this bill at the ballot box in November with a mandate to repeal it. This government takeover of our health care system will not improve access to health care or lower costs for families and small businesses. It's just not in the math if we use the same math that is used by the rest of the country. Since this law was passed, premiums have increased again, putting more families in a difficult position of choosing between keeping their health insurance, paying their heating bills, or putting food on the table. In addition to failing to achieve any key goals of health care reform, this law imposes new taxes, penalties, fees, and paperwork burdens on small businesses that drive our economy. The National Federation of Independent Businesses has found that the employer mandate alone will cost 1.6 million jobs, with about half of those lost by small businesses. Face it, Obamacare massively increases taxes, massively cuts senior benefits, and creates over 100 new agencies, commissions, and boards, and that will massively increase costs. Over 100 new agencies means more federal employees, more tax dollars required, and more complications in access to health care, and brings the IRS into your private health care decisions for the first time without addressing the key drivers of cost. Adding more taxes and regulations on job creators will only serve to prolong the economic problems and high unemployment rates we're experiencing. This is too big of a burden for our economy to wait. We need to start over by repealing this bad law now and beginning the process of producing common sense reforms and fiscally responsible solutions. We can reform health care in a way that improves quality, reduces costs, and increases access, all without burdening our economy or increasing the debt that will be owed by our children and grandchildren. As a member of the Ways and Means Committee, I look forward to following through on our promise to replace the current law with proposals that actually accomplish these goals of reforming Washington, bringing private market reforms, reducing costs, and dealing with defensive medicine through real debate, real hearings, real markups, and bipartisan input. As an original co-sponsor of H.R. 2, I urge all my colleagues to join me in supporting this repeal, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Michigan.
Madam Speaker, I now yield 2 minutes to another distinguished member of our committee, Mr. Thompson of California.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I rise in opposition to the repeal of the Patient's Bill of Rights. As Congress debates this legislation to repeal the historic health care reform law, it's important that our constituents know what working families, small businesses, and seniors stand to lose. Repealing the health care reform law would remove new protections for 57 million Americans with pre-existing conditions. That includes over 8,000 children in my district. It'll end the chance for 2.5 million young adults to remain on their parents' plans until they're 26 years of age. In my district, over 4,000 young people would lose this coverage. It'll increase prescription drug costs for more than 10,000 seniors in my district who hit the Medicare Part D donut hole. These seniors will pay another $500 this year, and between now and 2020, another $3,000. Some 16,000 small businesses in my district alone will pay higher taxes. Repeal will increase the deficit by $230 billion over the next 10 years and more than $1.2 trillion over the following decade. And repeal will shorten the life of the Medicare program by 12 years, putting Medicare benefits and the seniors that depend on it at great risk. So when you consider these facts, it's clear that repealing the health care reform law is bad for families, it's bad for small businesses, and it's bad for seniors. In my district, and across our great country. I urge a no vote.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Michigan.
I yield 2 minutes to a distinguished member of the Ways and Means Committee, the gentleman from Washington.
Gentleman's recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank the gentleman for yielding. Madam Speaker, I'm here today to say that I'm going to vote yes to repeal this health care bill because I think the American people deserve better. There were promises made in this bill. Promises, promises, promises. Promises made and, unfortunately, promises that were broken. Think back to last year. Think back to what the American people were promised in this bill. 3 promises come to mind. 1, Americans were told that the overhaul would make health care more affordable. 2, they were told that this would make health care more efficient. And 3, they were told that they could keep their health care if they liked it. The American people deserve to hear the truth. The American people deserve better. It's their health. It's their life. And here's the truth. Over $500 million worth of taxes on small businesses and the American families across this country. $500 billion cut from Medicare. Here's some examples. 2.3% tax on medical devices, wheelchairs, and walkers. 3.8% tax on employers. An additional tax penalty on employers who don't provide a certain amount of health care for their workers. A 40% tax on so-called Cadillac health care plans. And government paperwork bureaucracy. There's a requirement you fill out a 1099 form for employees requiring the hiring of 16,000 IRS workers. Who's going to pay for that? Remember this promise President Obama made and others made? You can keep your health care if you like it. President Obama himself said, well, there might have been some language snuck into this bill that runs contrary to that promise. Madam Speaker, the American people deserve better. The American people deserve the truth. It's their health and it's their life. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Michigan.
I yield myself 5 seconds. The truth is,
recognized for 5 seconds.
we moved to repeal